All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Rex of the Story. I'm James Cressy.
I'm
I'm,
Kinder Volin.
I'm Mark Turner, and that's in the wrong order.
We're back.
I was about to say, today's episode's all about me anyway, so I don't know
Yeah.
what you guys are even talking about.
It's all about women.
It is. I'm so sorry, by the way, Notre Dame, that you guys took the L in the national championship, but we're still rooting for you. I promise, I swear.
Yeah.
We're in South Bend, Indiana. I'll put it in a little context. And James is a Notre Dame freshman. How's it going, James?
It's going good. It's going good.
Okay, that's good. Well, hey, welcome to the Rex of the Story. We're here with the Indiana Dinosaur Museum, and we're in our library, and we want to talk about the backstory to paleontology. It's really interesting. And last time our show was on Sir Richard Owen.
Right.
They've
there you go.
forgotten already.
Lovely Darwin.
But you were forgetting.
In case you've forgotten what he looks like. Gandalf and an Undertaker. Remember episode 1?
Oh, yeah.
So today we're here to talk about Mary Anning. So, who's going to lead?
Oh, that's definitely me because I'm the only female in this group. So, well, I think I am, depending on who you ask in this group. So, Mary Anning, where do we even begin? She was born May 21st of 1799 and passed away in 1847. Due to, of course, the health back then, she passed away from breast cancer, but was probably one of the most profound paleontologists, especially for the female race. Now, compared to these two gentlemen
It's
here,
female's a gender.
well, female race.
Kendra, hey, can we go back to her birthday too?
Oh my gosh! What
wasn't
born
May
21st?
21st?
1799.
What famous people were born on that day?
Mary Anning.
Not you.
No.
Oh.
Cody Johnson, the country and western singer.
Of course.
Do you know any of his songs?
Who was it?
Cody Johnson.
For context, Mark does not listen to a lot of music, but he blasts country music.
You're wearing a cowboy hat. You don't know who Cody Johnson is.
That is probably one of the.
I found in Mark's notes. I found he had started writing a song, a country song when he was out. And I was digging through these notes with all these.
Where is that?
This layout of
I
the
mentioned
fossils
my way back to you
when they were found.
On my way back.
Which I composed that on my way out to our dig site. But let's talk about May 21st. Cody Johnson, famous country and western singer.
Gosh, the most important.
And then a rap singer, Havoc. Didn't know that, did you? And on the 22nd, Naomi Campbell. That's her. Remember our last podcast. Giselle Bundchen was
there you go.
Same date as.
Hey, I'll take it.
As Sir Richard Owen.
Yep.
It's kind of a tie-in there. Go ahead, Kendra. Just thought I'd tie it into the last show. A little continuity.
But no, she by far was one of the most profound female paleontologists. Now, during that time, of course, she was not recognized by many males or any males by any means. She was one of 10 children. Now, back then, those 10 children, most did not survive. Technically, 3 survived. Her older sister, Mary, actually passed away in a fire due to their, mother and father not paying attention and, of course, trying to start a fire. She did not know how to and completely burned herself head to toe. And then, of course, Mary was actually born 5 months later. That's like
I've been stunned silence.
I was about to say, it's like me trying to start a fire, guys. I would be the one that would try to start a fire and 100% catch my clothes on fire. But no, was of course named right after Mary. And that's why, Mary Anning is named the way she is. And then, of course, she had an older brother, Joseph, as well, who was an amazing fossil collector, just like her dad. And I think that's where it kind of all starts. And her father was one of those that was an amazing fossil collector, has been doing it since he was young. Almost like Mr. Turner and how his family has kind of came along to the Turner quarry.
I didn't start young.
Well,
hey, young-ish. But let's you're jumping ahead. Oh. When I read about that time period, I was shocked. I don't know about the two of you, about the number of people that died.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like everybody's dying.
Yeah.
family members. Her father died. Didn't she kind of followed her father down the seashore?
Yeah.
Smallpox and measles were a huge thing.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Huge
it
thing.
Thomas Hodge that says life is brutish and short or something? You guys,
Thomas
you aren't
Hodge.
you aren't classically educated, so you probably wouldn't know who that is. He wrote a famous book called Leviathan, I think.
Oh, okay. I
You
know the book.
Yeah, that's good. But it seemed like he was British too, and he probably died early too.
Right.
And didn't she die at 47 or something like that?
Yeah.
Of breast cancer or something.
And I think that was like the main line. Like it was early 40s or mid 40s when many people passed away from her region.
Yeah.
It was either the tragedies on the cliffs from fossil hunting or smallpox, measles, or stupidity.
Generally.
One of the four, I think.
Did you have a longer life by the seashore or in London? I bet you died in London like rats.
Oh my gosh.
Does that make sense?
No. Like rats?
No?
Like
rats. I don't know. Wasn't London filled with like smog pollution?
Oh, yeah.
I guess kind of stereotype of
crap on the
industrial
streets.
London.
Oh yeah. 110%.
So I've seen this book. I haven't read it. The Fossil Hunter.
By audience younger than 40, this is a book. It's written in paper. I know you read it. It's very. You turn the pages. There are books behind us. Here, feel. Touch the book.
I'm a big book guy. The Fossil Hunter. So this is by Shelley Emling. I've heard good things about this.
I actually read that.
Were you reading through it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to read through it.
This
is about just for the Rex of the Story book recommendations. You got to put The Fossil Hunter by Shelley Emling on there.
And we're at a loss, aren't we? Because we didn't take feminist paleontology history in growing up, and Kendra evidently didn't she?
Of course I did.
Looking through it. Yeah.
And she said she's prolific. I think she was one of the first. So tell us what she did first.
Oh, yeah.
And why you think she was such a downtrodden, abused person.
Gosh, she was not, okay? Well, actually, she kind of was. I can't lie about that. She followed her father. It kind of started at a very, very, very young age, mainly in the geologic formation of the Blue Lias.
Yep.
Which was right along, the seashore. And it was made out of, limestone and shale, which is probably in the geology world one of the most horrible formations that you can be in, just because of the integrity that it has and the many deaths that we're seeing, and even still today on those shores, because so many people are after, those prominent fossils that like Mary Anning was discovering.
To get a picture of that, so you can look up Charmouth, I think is what it's called. The Charmouth mud.
How do you spell that?
CHARMOUTH cliffs. So they're very picturesque, but this is where she would have gone. Rock hounding is what you kind of call it, looking for fossils along the shore, beach, Charmouth Cliffs. So you can kind of give an idea of what it looks like. So it would have been kind of they have all these fossils there. I think most of them Jurassic.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the middle period of the three periods during dinosaur times. Obviously Jurassic, Jurassic Park, and it would have been from the ocean. So just to give the fossil context for where she was searching, this would have been underwater. So she didn't actually find any dinosaurs, but she did find a lot of these prehistoric creatures that lived in the water, which would have included, these things called ammonites. We have in our museum. I'll let Kendra keep going on.
I was about to say, because even before, I guess, her time too, many locals were actually hunting for these fossils. So, I mean, for instance, they had what were called snake stones, devil fingers, vertebraries, bezoar stones, which of course all translate to us: ammonites, belemnites, vertebrae, and then of course the fossilized feces.
Yeah,
was one huge one that also
coprolite.
Coprolites.
You should look up snake stone. So those are ammonites. So ammonites, we even have like a model of one in the museum. Might be worth grabbing.
Up in that cabinet, if you want to reach up there, there's an ammonite that I found because I'm a prolific fossil hunter.
Ammonites,
not an academic nerd like these two.
Ammonites, you
want to know
see
what it is, it's the pink one, the one that was pink. That's right there. No, right. Well, that one too. The one right in front of your hand.
Yeah. There we go.
And I found these south of Glendive, Montana. And I don't know, when you open those up, when you broke this, they come in big. Ranchers call them mudstones, but it's some type
Yeah.
of concretion.
Yep.
And I gave half of this to the Children's Museum, but we have another nice one up there, and we have a huge nautilus that I
Yeah.
found. You see that nautilus?
Yeah. So those are
You
just
might
things
wanna
you guys can't. I don't know if you guys can't see it, but we got.
Kendra, get the nautilus down.
Uh,
Let's show these people what a prolific
Well, anyway,
fossil
just to
hunter
talk
I am.
about it. So as you guys can see, they're these spiral shells,
yeah.
right? And they belong to these prehistoric squid type creatures. They're not actually squid, but they're most closely related to squid and octopus. So at the opening of this shell, instead of a snail, you'd have this tentacled squid come poking out. So it would have it's kind of a would have you can kind of picture that. So just at the opening of the shell, you can look up. Yeah, so there's a picture of what it. Well, that's a squid attacking an ammonite. Look at the picture below it there. Yeah, there you go. So that's kind of gives you an idea of what they would have looked like. However, they disguised these things. Kendra brought up snake stones, so you can look up snake stone. Colton might be on you there.
Slowpoke.
I call these
Sorry.
digressions cresses.
Well, this is important. So
Does
we're
that
talking
make
about
sense?
we're talking about like lime redges where she.
So when I go
collected
home
fossils.
tonight, my wife asked me what I was doing. I'll go off on a tangent, and that'll be a cressy. I want to get back to
Yes, but
Mary Anning. I
this
know,
is
but yeah.
good. This is good. So look
Oh,
up
yeah.
snake stone.
Snake.
One word stone. Or
Yeah.
maybe two words. So you can just look that up. It should show if you go down. That first picture at the top. No. So scroll sideways. You got to find a good picture. It's kind of hilarious. So they didn't know what these were, so they dressed them. They made them look like snakes. There's a good one. So they just literally carved into the rock or in clay a really crude looking snake head, and then they sold them as this is a
I
ancient
think they kind of look
petrified
like a coiled
snake.
up snake.
It does. It
Oh,
does.
yeah.
So
I mean,
they're
Kendra, show the
Oh, yeah.
audience.
so this is
It kind of looks like a coiled up snake.
technically it's a fake. It's like you're selling something as something it's not. So
And
obviously
they
it's
sold
a
them to the tourist, right?
Right.
And that
right. So fossil collectors, they just would get all these things and then sell them as such. And I
Okay, so the deal is that Mary Anning and her father, she was very young, 11,
Mhm.
would go out and get these ammonites and shells and things along the ocean and sell them to tourists, right? And that was kind of a side trade for him. I think he was a carpenter.
Carpenter. Mhm.
And they were he seemed like he was sort of a little bit of a speculator and a dreamer.
Mhm.
And she followed this dream, I think.
Yeah.
And at the end, I want to talk about some themes I've noticed, and that's one thing. That, like, in James, all joking aside, I mean, you have been since I've known you. You've been such a fanatic about fossils. It's something I think that this passion is in people. Wouldn't you say, James?
Yeah, for sure. Kind of just go out and explore and
Yeah.
beachcomb kind of thing.
Right. So, Kendra, go
Yeah.
ahead.
And I mean, these fossils didn't bring a ton of money. I mean, they were selling for anywhere between 2 and 5 shillings, which, I don't know what that converts to American dollars now these days. But it's one of those things, these fossils were anywhere from 195 to 210 million years old. And they were especially hunted during those winter seasons because that's where a lot of those landslides would occur. And that's where these major fossils would start appearing from. And of course, a lot of them were discovered right after her father had actually passed. He passed when she was about 11 or 12 years of age. And that's when Anning, since
But
Joseph.
he died. He got injured in a rock fall.
And rockfall, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the
Oh.
other thing too, is she lost a lot of people in these. Like she had a very close relative or friend, or I guess four-legged companion dog. That was actually
Trey?
Trey.
Her dog,
Trey,
Yes, Trey.
Yeah.
There's a famous picture of Mary Anning that has her
Yes.
dog in it.
And she was a spinster. There's a new movie out with Kate Winslet. I hate to bring
Yeah.
up things like popular
culture.
culture that you guys probably know nothing about. But all modern movies have to have some type of
Relationship.
weird relationship that's non-traditional. And she evidently, this movie portrays her as having a lesbian relationship with one of her fossil.
Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
see them more as, I don't want to use the word spinsters, but there was a couple of women, I can't remember their names, and a very affluent young lady. I'll think about it in a second. But about 6 or 7 females kind of drove the collections. And it seems like,
Yeah.
it seems like not only did Mary like her dog,
Yeah.
men are rascals, and who wants to marry a man?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
but
true wisdom.
it,
That was definitely a liberty of artistic liberty of the film, but
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but
that
I think she
she had
had
a
deep, there's no evidence that she was a
right.
lesbian. And I think she was a spinster. She took care of her mother. She seemed to be very religious. I think they didn't she start out as as a dissenter,
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
Protestant,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they were kind of like the lower rung of society.
Right.
I come from that, from a Protestant background. But just a really fascinating story of I think everybody with the movie, and Kendra, you of course interpret this story as kind of a gender thing, that men suppress women. And I think that's there,
Oh,
but I think there's a story about women working together and collecting and finding sort
Yeah.
of a fellowship,
yeah.
and
Mhm.
also finding that fellowship with each other,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and it's kind of transcendent,
Mhm.
because I think,
Yeah.
No,
maybe I
I think it's still in, like, in colleges today, especially in any of the ologies. I know at Radford University when, I was in paleontology, archaeology, and geology, it was like the females always found that group because it was like we were almost fighting against, the opposite sex. Like, no offense, James, absolutely love you to
Yeah.
death, but it was almost like we
what am I
always
neutral in that?
what you're
Old
ish.
guys don't count.
Old guys don't count.
Hey James, you go to Notre Dame. Is Radford an accredited school?
Oh my
I,
gosh.
I not sure.
The fact that he's not sure does not make
I
me
know
feel great about
I don't
this.
know what
I
that-
heard they have some accredited schools in Texas, but I'm not so sure about the hills of Virginia. Are you?
But no, it was just one of those things that we always thought we had to fight for ourselves. We always had to stand up for all of the little girls who thought that, everything that we do today, they weren't able to do. And,
Mhm.
it's been one of those really cool things to see, like in those big, things like biology, geology, paleontology now, and archaeology.
Well, aren't they dominated by women
It's
now?
dominated, yeah, by women now these
Yeah.
days.
I don't know
I've-
about that. I haven't heard.
No,
Oh, don't you
I
dare.
think 60 or
Don't you
70%
dare.
of the paleontologists are women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just didn't.
I mean,
I
they're
was
don't
gonna say.
stronger, they're more intelligent
for sure.
than the young
No, yeah,
males.
yeah. I was gonna say on
We're
keeping
we're
with that,
crazier.
we had in our at my grade school, we had like in the science classroom, there was a poster of like women in science, which was really cool. Like historically, and I know she was kind of one of the prominent ones on there.
Mhm.
And I remember, so yeah, she's definitely
Is this
easily
a
one
true
of the most
story at
yeah.
St. Joe Grade
This
School
is St. Joe grade at the
in the
classroom.
first grade?
Yeah.
I met James in the first grade
Yeah.
giving a lecture, and he told me what to do and corrected my pronunciations. And
I'm
that still
surprised.
continues today. Go ahead, James.
But yeah, so she's easily one of the most famous female scientists in history, and one of the first to really uh, gain popularity. She was very popular in her time, but
Mhm.
afterwards, yeah, Mary Anning. I think there's Trey. That first picture, you might want to see Trey. I know everyone loves dogs, so
Everyone loves dogs.
got to see the
It's a weak
images.
point of ours in the
Um,
female race.
Yeah. And there's now recently there
thought
was a
women love
statue.
cats.
There was a statue of her that was put up in her honor at that's in I'm guessing Lime Ridge's Dorset.
That was actually
Uh,
pretty recent.
yeah, that was on-
2022.
That was on oh there you go.
Yeah.
PBS Eons. I saw that. So but the picture with Trey was that first one. Anyway, a little spotted. I don't know what the breed
Yeah.
was, but
Can
we
get back to
what she Sorry.
discovered
No, okay, sorry. That's a little bit later on. Sorry, James, about that. But you
All
were
right.
correct on that.
all right.
But no,
Jeez,
so
Pete.
the first major discovery was her and her brother. When she was about 12 years old in 1811, she found the ichthyosaur. Which of course a few months later her brother actually found the skull of it. And then a few months later, once another rock slide hit, she actually found the rest of it, which I believe measured to be about 17 feet in length. Probably one of the biggest one they've ever found. And lately, it's probably one of the main fossils that, is very rare to find along that cliffside.
That's a good picture, Colton. So I've heard of
Oh, yeah.
this. I don't know a ton about this, but I know she found I think like the first I don't know if she found the first ichthyosaur, or like the first
I
properly
think she
identified
did. I think
ichthyosaur.
she
But yeah,
did.
something that
But
was a
didn't
first.
wasn't it Gideon Mantell or
And she
Buckland
was
or someone that bought it from her and then acted like it was
right, of
Yeah.
theirs,
course.
and then they didn't mention her.
And
And
she
Mhm.
was 12, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
she had an incredible drawing. I
Wow.
don't know if she was 12. If she was, she's like the Van Gogh of paleontology because it's a beautiful drawing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just think that was one of her first. Wasn't she also the first to find coprolites?
Yeah. No,
There
she
were some other
was.
firsts too that I think
And then I do
were
think it
missing.
was with this ichthyosaur that she did find those coprolites with.
In
Really?
conjunction with the
Yeah.
ichthyosaur. That's pretty cool. So that you might want to look up just ichthyosaur. You can probably copy
Oh
paste it
yeah.
there, Colton, below
Heck
the
yeah.
image. But just to give people an idea what it looks like. But it's this big. It looks like a dolphin. But it's a reptile.
What is it, Colton?
Uh, what is a Colton?
Yeah.
What is it called?
Sounds like a
Colton is
disease.
a.
Yeah, I got a Colton. No, that's a cold.
uh, so yeah, you just looked up ichthyosaur. I'm sure you'd find a picture. When they first found it, they thought it was this weird, four flippered thing with this long tail. But then they found these skin impressions that showed it actually had like so you can see if you like just shrink wrap skin over that body, you'd expect this. Oh, it's got four flippers and a long straight tail. But then they found out later when they had these skin impressions that actually it had a tail like a fish or like a shark that had a moon shaped tail and it had a dorsal fin. So it actually just looked like a fish, but it's a reptile and they
It
get
looks like a
huge.
carnivorous dolphin.
Yeah,
Mm.
which is exactly what it was.
I was
It's
gonna
the
say kind of.
reptilian equivalent of a dolphin. Long snout and
Are there
for
any of
catching
these in
fish.
the western? Well, I guess this is Jurassic.
Yeah,
Isn't
this is
it?
Yeah.
Jurassic. But yes, they're in I think there's like early Cretaceous there a few. They kind of fell out in the Cretaceous. Um
Are you
but
sure about that?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't
Colton,
know.
fact check that.
Could be wrong.
Could be wrong. That thing just looks really, really weird. But then it's like her discoveries continue.
They were there in the Cretaceous. But
Oh yeah, they continued afterwards too. So her reputation grew very quickly. Starting in 1823, she was of course found a completed plesiosaur. And then of course, she found the pterosaur in 1928. And then of course a fish skeleton of some sorts. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name because it is
Give it
something.
to James.
what is it?
You wanna try that one, buddy? I even wrote it out on how to say it.
Oh, that's great. I can't say that I've heard of that.
Turner?
Squala Jora.
Yeah. I was gonna have Turner try to pronounce it too.
They persisted
Way
What's
to
that?
go, James.
I'm better at
Way to
finding them
go.
Keep reading
than I
them.
am pronouncing them.
Says that, but their numbers and diversity decreased as the period progressed. So
Look at
it was
that.
but yeah, they were very common in the Jurassic and in the Triassic. They grew to be the biggest like ichthyosaur was like as big as a blue whale. They recently found it in UK. They have these huge.
I got to admit
Jawbone.
that I'm pretty impressed with you two that you've actually done your work this time.
I know. Well, and
It's-
talking about the past here too, and I know how Mr. Turner loves Sir Richard Owens and Darwin and the creepiness of them. But Mary Anning also kind of fit into that kind of creepiness too. She actually dissected modern animals, especially the marine type. So anything from like cuttlefish to squid to anything like that to
Yeah.
get a better understanding.
Well,
What
weren't,
it is
weren't
with
most of them
dissecting-
early though? But weren't they
Right.
comparative anatomist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
who's-
is
who's-
kind of
who-
weird,
who's
but
French
people
was it?
that's common today. That's a very important practice, and so that's very good work that she's doing. It goes to show that she really was a scientist. She wasn't just some seashell collector. She's doing this stuff and dissecting these things. Like you do in your science classes. But she was no Charles, Sir Richard Owen. She
Well,
wasn't
who else was- who
ripping
else-
out people's spines, apparently.
Yeah,
So
well, who else was Charles Darwin? I mean, he stands out, But I think what I like about her is the passion,
Mhm.
and it's a great story, and it's been acknowledged, and it shouldn't be a footnote of history.
no,
And
And I think that's come out, and
yeah,
I don't know. I think someone said the long arc of history bends toward the truth. So I think it was who was that? Martin Luther King. I think the story has come out But what I've noticed in my, especially with you, James, and some of the young people I've met, um, paleontology plants its seeds early in the mind of children.
Mhm.
And it seems like
Yeah.
they go from the sandbox to the field, and it's almost this childhood passion. I can think
Yeah.
of Tyler Leeson. From Marmouth, he found Dakota and Montesaurus skin on it.
Yeah.
And then Tyler went to Yale very young. I think he's at um, I think he's at a museum in Denver, the Denver Museum of Natural History.
Yeah.
But I could go. The two dinosaurs in Indianapolis were found by, gosh, who found those? Bucky Derflinger, and he
Mm,
found them at 14 on his ranch.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it seems, I always part of my, and I don't mean to, interrupt you guys. It's fun to interrupt you guys, but I don't mean to. Part of our mission here at the Indiana Dinosaur Museum is to inspire kids.
Yeah.
We start with an inspirational film, and I keep wanting going back to that.
Yeah.
Because it seems like so many of these people, these young kids, found their passion and then went to college and combined it with academics and became really world class scholars. The Larsons,
Yeah.
I think they sold
Imagine what
ammonites.
Mary Anning could have done if she was allowed into the Geological Society.
Mhm.
Well, she was a woman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a shame.
It's still a thing today. I'm like,
Oh,
God
it is not
dang.
a thing today. Are you kidding? You know what kind of kills me about that age? I was thinking about this. We and I just want to put it in perspective. Because feminists really, beat this drum to death.
Mm,
But Queen Victoria, she was in power,
yeah.
and she was
At the time.
at the
At the
time. So the
time.
world's most powerful nation had a female at its head, and I think sometimes we don't put things in perspective, and we look back at the past through kind of the prism of our present, and it distorts things.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Uh, I think.
Yeah.
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 No, and
I could be wrong.
I was about to say too, a lot of the men that actually worked very closely with
Yeah.
Mary Anning and them, they actually acknowledged like her knowledge about these things.
Mhm.
And but the sad thing about it is like they would absolutely take the opportunity to buy those fossils from Mary Anning, like get her trust almost. And then they were the ones that would write about them. And then of course they of course would write about them and then of course not even give her any credit of anything. I can't even take this serious right now.
Colton's putting
Thank
a
you, Colton.
cartoon up. Hey,
It's
but
cute.
she did say,
There's a good picture, that little cartoon with her and the
Yes.
fossil, and then to the scroll sideways of what the creatures looked like in life. I thought that's
well, if it's not a cartoon or a graphic novel, you two probably can't
yeah.
understand
So
it.
there's
Yeah,
some of the
words on
things she
pictures,
found.
guys,
So
doesn't
she
go well.
found, just to give the kind of the overview of the fossils Mary Anning found. So
In
ichthyosaur.
case you're under 5, we'll have some.
Cool. Can you go back to that one, the one with the where they look
110%.
alive? So you got the ammonites, you got the plesiosaur, which looks like like the Loch Ness monster. It's got this long neck and it ate fish. And then the ichthyosaur is the dolphin looking thing jumping out of the water. And then pterosaurs,
Pterosaurs.
right? So these flying reptiles, often mistaken for dinosaurs. So she found Dimorphodon, I think, is the ones she found. I don't know if Kendrick can
No,
confirm.
that's-
We
that
have
is
one.
correct.
We have a model.
We
of
do.
one
We
of
have a
those in the-
Dimorphodon. So those were fish eating, or did she find Dimorphodon? I'm not sure. I want to fact check that. Either that or like Rhamphorhynchus or.
Once again, I want to derail from the Cressy thing. Here. But
Sorry.
she did say, I think I have a quote here. The world has used me so unkindly. I fear it has made me suspicious of everyone.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I don't know if it's particularly men or if we're not reliable partners, but gosh darn it, it's a shame someone so talented. But there were also men that came to her aid. Wasn't there some colonel that she sold one of the fossils to that held a huge auction in London
and raised like over
Great.
100,000 shillings and it's like
No, it was 400 pounds.
was it 400,000?
Yes,
Shit.
which is about $50,000 right now.
Yeah.
US. I'm doing this calculation. In
I'm
my
sorry.
head.
Bad at math. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
No, but some men really, Gideon Mantell and really came to her aid.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I found that picture. I was just looking through trying to find it was Dimorphodon Macronyx, which is the same one we had.
Perfectly salute.
and what's that name mean? Dimorphodon.
I have no clue.
Acornus.
Macronics. I'll look.
Isn't it crazy? You know how we set our bones and how you lay them out like on the foam in here? She went like straight into cement. She just like laid them in cement and then just preserved them that way.
How
That
do you
is
know that?
That
freaking
picture,
crazy.
Colton, while does it still break or?
Do you always have to point to a screen to
I
have
don't
a
know.
reference in your life? I mean, when you, I assume you got it. We're not recording, are we? Are we recording? You have a girlfriend.
What?
You have a girlfriend now. Right?
I broke up with my girlfriend.
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
That breaks my heart.
Nice.
What an
That's-
appropriate episode
At
to be
first,
talking
I
about
was
this.
happy you had a girlfriend. Right? Why'd you guys break up? Was it the fact that you read paleontology books all the time?
It's okay.
Is that it?
I'll be your wing woman. I got you.
There we go.
I got you, James. Don't you worry about that. All right, and we're back, guys. Sorry about that. This is the lovely bloopers that we have in this episode. So I think this is a great start to talk about where Mary Anning, there we go. Kind of went back. So after that huge auction, I don't know if that was kind of torn out or whatnot, but she did have aid from men. And they kind of helped her get back onto her feet because she did become the man of the house once, her, kind of brother
She
left
supplied
her.
all the income
Yeah.
to her
And
her mother.
What
She
are
had to
these
take care of,
pictures?
she had to
And-
take care of her mother.
I mean, and it was one of those things too where it was like she was able to kind of open her own fossil shop which was very unheard of, especially for, a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an 11, I mean, she was young. You know,
Yeah.
but I think, don't you think that in modern America and probably Europe, that childhood has been extended, maybe perhaps a little bit too long? That it seems like, I was reading an article the other day that in primitive societies, by 6, a child can survive. Well, heck, with you guys, your generation, what is your generation, James?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Am I one above you? What's before Gen Z?
I don't know, but heck,
Millennial?
We're not
at
great.
32, you're still living in the basement, but I
I'm 24 ish.
that's Colton speaking.
I'm 20.
Do you still live in your parents' basement, Colton?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
So I am the last of the boomers, right?
Showing the age there.
I'm older than all 3 of you combined, and I have the wisdom of 50 of you.
That's actually very true.
But I think in those days, and if we're not too far from an Amish community, the young kids work right next to their parents, and it seemed like she took on her trade her father had.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, especially when we're out west, the ranch kids work next to their parents and they learn their trade and what to do very, very early.
Mhm.
And they're good with their hands. So I think when we look back, it was probably pretty natural. But man, was she a mature young lady,
Mhm.
And she had, who taught her spelling? I think she learned in church, didn't
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to go to school, so
Right.
pretty much every Sunday school is where she learned how to read and write.
And she didn't minister at her church. And it seemed like all the early paleontologists too. I've never I think I mentioned that in the last podcast, that I've never understood why religion was so opposed to science and science wanted to dismantle religion. But it seemed like most of them were ministers
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and encouraging her to go dig and digging with her
Yeah.
and having collections
For sure.
too.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people work back then. And yeah.
Wasn't divinity? It's like at Notre Dame, you can only get a couple degrees, divinity and law, right?
Divinity and law.
Like being a priest.
Oh,
I think that's it.
you don't get like a degree in priesthood.
What do you get? Do you get ordained?
You go into like
I
holy
mean,
orders and
Well, I don't know much
Uh,
about.
yeah,
I mean, I
I'm
raised my kids
very
Catholic,
versed
but
in
I
that
tried not to listen to everything in every mass I've ever attended. Does that make sense?
yeah. Back to Mary Anning. How about-
Back to what I was about
Did
to
I do it? Was I on a
say.
Cressy?
You
Was I on a
definitely were
Cressy?
on a Cressy. But I mean, even after, opening the fossil shop and everything, I mean, we then got into major publications issues. I mean, she was only published once during her lifetime when she was actually alive, and being in the magazine of natural history. And it was actually an argument towards a species that she technically had founded, but someone else had written about. And it was about I think it's Hibiscus, which is a shark species or a fish species of some sort. And-
Shark, which is a
Yeah.
fish species. Hybotus. So they're kind of the famous Jurassic dinosaur sharks. So there's these sharks, but they have
Hybotus bullshitus.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
so Hybotus is probably the most, besides like Megalodon, one of the most famous prehistoric
Is it
sharks.
really? Are you serious?
Yeah, Hybotus.
Colton, can you bring up a picture of
Please.
HY
As it is it
Nope.
as big as bird?
HY. That was good try. It
Are
was
you serious?
HYBODUS.
He can't even spell that.
So there's the
Oh, those things
so
are
there's a bunch of different. That's the
small.
genus. There's a bunch of different species. Some of them got big. Some of them were pretty small. But
Where did
there
you
was
find out about that?
there's a picture there of
No, but I mean,
life
what-
reconstruction. So it's got these horns on top of its head, or like these little spikes. But yeah, so they would have preyed upon a lot of, been the sharky predators of the time.
This is the first. This is the first time I've ever learned anything from you.
Which one of us?
Mark that down, Colton.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Put
which
that
one
in the notes.
Okay, we'll take it.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because it was literally over their teeth. It was because they both had like hooked and straightened teeth, and she was arguing against them. And the funny thing is they even put it under like an unknown author. They wouldn't even put her name to even signify that she was a woman who was trying to argue against them on how wrong they truly were about
Which
it.
is similar to what happened with the plesiosaurus, right?
Yeah.
Because when that was described, I know I've heard. So you can fact check me on this, but wasn't she like? So she might have found the original specimen and sent the drawings,
Yeah.
and they published it and described it, but they didn't, or at least the species, and didn't say who found it or like
Yeah.
give credit to it. But so it's kind of inferred that it was probably her,
Because
but they just didn't
a lot
give
of
her credit.
I mean, a lot of dinosaurs, and check me if I'm wrong here, which I think I'm 100% wrong on this, but usually when someone discovers, a new dinosaur, they have the opportunity to, name it in some way. And usually somehow it has somebody's name in it. So like if Mr. Turner, for instance, found like a new dinosaur, it would have something in regards to a Tarnosaurus or something, which only
Tyrannosaurus.
the Tarnosaurus.
Wait, I can't wait for that moment.
I know, aren't we all? But it's something that Anning, I think, found all these really cool species and never got to be a part of. And I think those men have put their names on it and
I
everything.
wonder if she ever did get an animal. Obviously not during her time.
I
but,
think she did.
yeah.
I think she's had things named after.
Okay.
Yeah,
would-
there was.
I
I think
would
there was
expect it.
actually a Swiss American named two fish species after her.
There you go.
But it's crazy just how I think she should have been early recognized on earlier in her life.
Yeah. No, she didn't get the recognition she deserved. Obviously.
No.
Well, now we've done that.
Yes, I think
So we
posthumously,
have-
I think we've definitely she's
So
She's
there's
gotten
a
the recognition
statue
she
of her.
deserves.
There's a church there that has a stained glass
Glass.
window,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and there's some school there nearby, Exeter or something, that did an opera, I think, or a musical.
yeah.
And it is the single worst production I've ever heard in my life. It's not like The Music Man or Wicked or something
Yeah.
like that.
Now she's got movies. She's got
Yeah, and
books.
Ammonite
She's
with
got
Kate Winslet.
And I mean, she has the very famous poem Seashores.
yeah. So that was something I'd read in,
Something
like
like that.
as a kid in like a
I
book.
don't think that really was.
It's
isn't that
not
kind of-
confirmed, but there's the it's possible that she inspired this nursery rhyme. She sells seashells by the seashore. That might have been Mary Anning.
It might have been.
Yeah, that's hard to confirm, but that's
Oh gosh.
would make sense.
Really.
Yeah, really.
Can you say the poem?
Here you go, bud.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Oh, keep going. It gets longer.
Oh, just keep going.
Oh, keep going.
The shells she sells are surely she sells. I wish we could point the camera at Colton. Colton's just doing that.
I don't think this is ever going to make the country and western top 20.
Oh,
Cody Johnson's not going to. Cody, if you want to do that for me.
Mark's guilty pleasure is going to be listening to that on his way home.
I love
Oh, 110%.
I love Dirt Cheap and Till You Can't are some of my favorite
Oh, yeah.
Cody
Tomorrow's
Johnson.
meeting with him and I, it's going to be him singing that.
For
me.
sure, for sure.
110%.
So are we about done here? Because I'm about ready to fall asleep.
No.
We're not?
Absolutely. No, we are. I mean,
Could never cover the whole
Colton, are we
I
done?
mean,
topic
there's
of Mary
so
Anning.
much
41 minutes.
minutes.
I can't believe I've been with you two this long, and you've been semi-articulate.
Hey, this is something I'm very proud of because being a female in this, in this field is awesome.
Don't you think that feminism has kind of run its course?
I think it.
I mean,
I don't know how to answer that
I was
question.
thinking I was thinking the other day, I mean, what was so nice about this last election? I can't remember who ran for president. That's a joke.
I think we're all trying to forget, but yeah.
But Kamala Harris, absolutely no one brought up she was a woman. I don't know if people realize that. It has become, I think there's going to be a female president, but I think society's kind of recognize both female leadership and their traits and male leadership and their traits. And I think we're evolving to a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Optimistic.
Where men are back totally in control.
Oh, God.
No, but I just think, I'm married and I know you two aren't, but women have always, they're just they have in different strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at Mary Anning, to me, she epitomizes that. One is, she strategic patience with men. She led her household. She suffered. Her father died, and it appears like her father was her strongest relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, then she bonded with these ladies and her dog. I mean, she really was very depressed when her dog died. And, but what a strong person.
Yeah. For sure.
And I just think women have different and complementary strengths with men. And I think we're at a good place right now in the old US of A.
No, her contributions were some of the most significant to paleontology of any paleontologist ever, man or woman. So
it's okay. We all
Mary
know
Anning.
girls run the world right
Yeah,
now. It's fine.
for sure.
Just go ahead and admit it, you two.
Down with the patriarchy.
Down with the
That's
patriarchy.
Barbie movie.
So you saw a Barbie movie. Do
I
have-
did.
Do you
saw the
have a
movie.
Barbie?
I don't have a Barbie.
I had a
unfortunately.
G.I. Joe. You probably had a
A
Ken
G.I.
doll.
Joe. I
You
didn't have a
can't
Ken
G.I.
doll.
Joe.
I have my dinosaur toys, Mark. Come on.
Your dinosaur toys.
Mr. Tarner.
Somehow I believe that.
What
You
is
sleep
what
with
is
a
a
I
G.I.
sleep with a stuffed animal, a dinosaur.
You do?
I don't
Oh.
tell many. My daughters gave it to me when they were young. I'll bring him in one day.
Wow. That's great.
It's one of those secret things you didn't know. You saw me as this tough male, masculine leader, industrialist.
No, I'm not surprised.
Founder
He's a
of
teddy
the
bear,
Indiana
guys.
Dinosaur Museum.
He's a teddy bear.
Found new fossil species. That kind of guy, didn't you? You did, didn't you?
And do I not
The
know?
He's a
epitome
softie.
of Midwestern, work ethic. You didn't see that.
Didn't see what.
I'm going to bring in my stuffed animal. Cool.
I can't believe
Gotta
we got
see
that
that.
out of him.
I'll bring it in for you.
Alrighty. Well,
All right.
Mary
So-
Anning was a pleasure to be talked about, and I think
For
we're
sure.
excited to move on with our next episode, which I have no clue what it will be, but
That's because James and I are hiding it from you.
that's what I kind of figured. This is the only one I'll ever be able to talk about and talk in, so don't get too used to it.
No,
We
not
won't.
true.
We won't.
I know.
So anyway, so how do we sum this up? What's the summary here of this podcast?
Females are the absolute best, and they cannot be forgotten in the past or the future. And right now, they've had the most probably biggest impact on all ages, even in the past decades and even today. So don't forget, if you're a little girl out there or even a little boy, just always remember that we have a huge impact on you guys and that you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Get a children's
And
book about
that-
Mary Anning.
Yeah, Mary
And
Anning
that is not
needed
the
some
rest
run.
of the story. That's
Yes.
Kendra's propaganda.
Yes.
So anyway, you want to sign off?
Why not, Kendra do it?
Kendra, we'll just sit here in silence.
Yep.
Okay, we sit
No,
here-
no,
hey,
we gotta-
hey, no, we bow down.
There we go. Alrighty, guys. That is the Rex of the story. This is Kinder Bolin.
I'm James Cressy.
And I'm Mark Turner. That's the Rex of the story.